Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Edson Barbosa is gonna be a pretty good fight. You get two. Sorry, a lot of people were fucking with me in the comments about messing up his name, so I wanted to do it justice for everybody. I think I got that one spot on, flawless. As you all know, I have a degree in linguistics. I've written several papers, published papers on dialects, and that is exactly how you translate an Arabic name for a Russian. So there you go. It just reference that back if you ever want to know the correct pronunciation. But anyways, so Khabib versus Barbosa is going to be really, really interesting to see, because as much credit as I give Khabib, if you saw the breakdown about him, about his entry, he's really good at entering. A lot of it's still sloppy. He usually honestly just clinches and then kind of walks people towards the cage. It's astonishing how similar he's like Duran, except obviously whereas Duran would clinch and then hit to the body and the head and manipulate the guard and everything. Khabib isn't really interested in that. He's interested in getting, using it in a wrestling kind of way. I mean, Duran was too. If he was on the ropes, he'd underhook and then turn him off the ropes, and then a lot of people were very unprepared for that, obviously. But Khabib, same thing with grappling. Same thing with grappling, and the normal takedown defense just doesn't work with him because of his hip throws. Everyone's like, "Oh, I'm against the cage. Let's turn my body a little bit, spread my legs wide, and then just clinch really really hard, because I don't want them getting at my knees." And he's just like, "Fuck your knees. I'm throwing you right over my hip." And he's great at chaining it together too. If someone, he'll like feint with wrestling in the same way that other people feint with striking. He'll get someone pulling on him, trying to resist. It'll be like, "Oh, you're pulling on me that way? Okay. Then I'll adjust," just like GSP does. Then I'll adjust and use the way you're trying to move me, your resistance. I'm going to use your resistance against you. And on the other hand, you have Barbosa, who has insane timing. But he has his own weaknesses too. One of them is that he's great at these really clean, tight counters, and it works amazing for his check hook, but not much else. But a lot of times what Barbosa will do is he'll just kind of clean shot to the body and then get the hell out of the way. And some fighters have caught onto the fact that if they just pressure him, then Barbosa doesn't really do anything. He's not great at picking a spot and then just standing his ground, which he's not supposed to be. He's a counter fighter who wants people to come after him so he can kind of stop short and then catch them. But if you can't throw a couple flurries or throw up with something powerful, throw on something powerful, at least get the other guy moving back sometimes. That's the major problem with Barbosa, is that he's just too much about moving backwards or circling all of the time. He needs to be able to stand his ground every once in a while. Just throw a combination, add on 2 or 3 shots. Don't just feint or don't just come in with a attack. Drive the guy to the cage every once in a while. You need to inspire a little bit of fear. But against Khabib, that's perfect instincts. Khabib comes in so recklessly and wildly anyways that a tight shot and then moving away could keep a distance. It could keep an honest distance, It could work. It could work! And if anyone could do it, Barbosa could do it. Man, that'd make for a crazy stop, though. Could you imagine that? If Khabib just gets knocked the fuck out? How insane would that be? After everything he's done, if you've been paying any attention to him, and then he's just caught once, and then boom, that's over. That'd be crazy. There's a possibility Khabib could knock out Barbosa. It's not a high possibility, but it is a possibility. He has amazing accuracy. So even though he's ducking his head low, and he can't really see a lot of the times what he's hitting at, he's ducking his head low so that he could pin it to his opponent's hip and then leverage and all this kind of stuff. But although he can't really see much, he has incredible accuracy, and because it's so sloppy, he's throwing these hooks really wide. So a knockout is a possibility for him. I don't think Barbosa really can submit Khabib unless he's got him really dazed. I could see that happening. I could see him dazing or just killing Khabib's leg, and then, if he's like half out of it, yeah, he could be submitted because he's human. Even then, probably his instincts will stop that from happening. If Barbosa stuns Khabib and then tries to submit him, he's just, even if it works, and I eat my words, that's just a dumbass thing. That's a dumb thing to do. Just keep, if you've got him dazed, just keep hitting him and keep your body as far away from him as possible while doing it. He's so dangerous. Even going into a full mount is kind of like I don't know about that. Maybe just kind of keep standing and then throwing down elbows or punches on him. But he's not inhuman. Maybe that's giving him a little bit too much credit. He's not like some kind of superhuman. If he gets dazed, he's dazed. Even his grappling's gonna go to shit if he's like halfway knocked out. But still be careful. So two fighters who are just poison to each other's styles. I think we're gonna find out fairly quickly how the fight's gonna go. As far as Holm versus Cyborg, I'm kind of at a loss on this one, because it's going to be really hard for Cyborg to connect, because Holm is so great about just stepping her lead leg back, which is great against leg kicks too, and then circling out, kind of moving diagonally away from the way that Cyborg likes to enter, which is her power hand. She likes to throw that right and come in. But at the same time, as much as Holm could potentially pick her apart, Holm, her defense is just very one-dimensional. It's all distance-based, entirely distance-based. She had no head movement. she has none of that, and on purpose. She likes to stay very upright, very, very upright. As she enters in with a punch or a kick or whatever, she enters in and then she gets out, and it's all angles and it's all distance. She'll either go inside if strikes are being thrown and clinch temporarily before pushing the person away. So it's not even really a clinch to manipulate or do anything. It's, I'm gonna clinch, come in, protect myself, push you, and then get the hell out of the way. Or it's just in and out, in and out, in and out. And so, if someone counters her, that's her whole thing, is she just backs up. And if she doesn't not just that, she doesn't back up in a straight line. She's not stupid. She's an amazing fighter. But she circles out, I guess you should say. She leaves at an angle. But, the problem is with that is that if there's a longer exchange going on, if someone gets close to her and keeps coming at her, then her head just doesn't move, and it's not like she manipulates, it's not like she parries or anything like that. It's all just distance manipulation. Even when she's throwing combinations, usually boxers will just move their head offline. They'll either slip or duck or pivot or just do something mid combination. Even if they're throwing straight 1-2, they'll maybe dip to the side and then hook. But her boxing, if you look back at it too, there wasn't even much of that. It was the same thing. It was distance. It was just high guard, and then move in, and then clinch, maybe smother them a little bit, and then throw a couple more light pitter patter shots to the body, and then move out. It's all about setting up her rear hand for her. And nowadays, it's that's more just to wear down her opponent. Now it's mostly about setting up her kick. She has an incredible kick too, and she could angle her kick in different ways too. She doesn't just throw that one. It could come up kind of straight and tight, like a kind of half front, half round. It could go all the way around. She's very, very good with her back leg, but she's got distance, she's got her rear hand, and then she's got her back leg, and that's about it. And then Cyborg, a lot more head movement when she comes in. Which is going to make it a lot harder, honestly, for Holly to catch her and to get her with that. But the best thing that Cyborg could do is just lay on the pressure, just kind of shrug off some of those very clean, straight strikes that Holly likes to land, get close to her, and then just pound on her, whether it's against the cage, whether it's in the middle of the ring, or whether she takes her down on the ground. Cyborg's best tactic is shock and awe. Just overwhelm, pressure, don't stop throwing haymakers, come in and then just catch her with something. So, as to what's going to happen with that, I have no idea. Because sometimes, you know, Holly's been in that situation before with the same kind of fighters. She's been with different fighters, and it just seems kind of inconsistent to when she could deal with that and when she can't. So, I'm sorry, I usually have a far more grounded idea of what's going to happen, but this one's kind of a toss-up for me. Those are the two strategies I think both are going to use, and they're good strategies against the other. So kind of a coin toss there. If you want to stick around, I'm going to talk about something in boxing, and that is that Mayweather is trolling Sugar Ray Leonard for some reason. I have no idea why. He's probably just bored out of his mind at this point, you know. But I didn't really want to talk about the trolling too much. I wanted to talk about who I think would win if they were both fought in their primes, which I think is a fascinating conversation to have, which is why I'm going to have it with myself. And you guys are gonna listen and then let me know what you think in the comment. Who would potentially win there? Real quick, though, I feel like Leonard basically very politely said, "I beat your dad's ass." So I think that Leonard kind of won that little comment exchange, whatever. Don't like to get into drama too much, but I think he kind of, and you know, I don't know why Floyd's trying to do that if he knows that maybe that's why. Maybe he's mad that you know, he beat up his dad. And that was a great fight too. Oh man. That was good. That was really good. Went on a little too long. I felt it should have been stopped. But they didn't stop anything back in those days. You needed to be dead. You know, if you were leaning against the rope and you were like drooling, but your eyes had rolled back in your head, if you were still in an upright position, the ref would be like, "Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. You know, he's cold for some reason. He doesn't seem to have a pulse, but he's leaned up against the post, and so just keep beating on him, you know?" And that's what it was like back in those days. But let's see. So I think hands down, Sugar Ray Leonard would absolutely 100% kill Floyd Mayweather. I think not kill. I don't think it'd be a first round stoppage or anything, but I think it just get progressively worse for Floyd until the 10th, and there'd need to be a stoppage most likely. I think there'd be a stoppage. Because I think that Mayweather could hang in there with his defense and just keep taking punches on his guard with the occasional one slipping through. You know, the force dispelled a little bit by whatever he's blocking with. But I think Leonard would just take him to school. And there are a couple of reasons. The first one, first of all, Leonard, after he fought Duran the second time, would make much quicker work of Mayweather. Because Mayweather, a lot of his talent comes from grappling and framing and clinching and all that good stuff, and he's very subtle about it. But and you know, he looks up to Duran a lot, and he should, because he took a lot of stuff from him and obviously studied him, you know, in depth. So I think Floyd would have a lot better chance against Sugar Ray if they'd fought pre the first Duran fight. Because what Sugar Ray actually did to prepare for the second fight is, I forget the guy's name, but he hired another high-level boxer who idolized Duran. This guy idolized Duran to fight with him, and he said, "You could do anything but punch or knee me in the groin, or bite me, or..." It was something like that. It was like eye gouges, or it was something, thumb in the eyes, something like that was off limits. But everything else, he's like, "Do whatever the hell you want to me during sparring, and the people watching are never going to call it. And you could foul pretty much every which way you want and do all the dirty stuff." And you know, a lot of what Duran was doing was legal too. Most of it actually it was gray areas, like ducking his head underneath underneath another guy's head to change size, and you know, his hard head would kind of scrape against their brows or chin or whatever like that. But if you look at it, Duran is obviously, if you look at it slow motion, Duran isn't doing that to hurt. It's an inconvenience, and it blocks the guy's sight, and it's definitely a gray area, but it's not like he's intentionally hitting him hard with his head. He had a lot of opportunities to do so. But if if there's a headbutt, if there's an intentional headbutt from him, I don't remember it. But yeah, so Sugar Ray hired a guy to spar with him and just had him do every dirty trick in the book and all the grappling stuff that Leonard wasn't used to. And the second fight, Leonard obviously took a lot, stayed at a much greater distance, but there were times you could see when Duran did get close in that Leonard was so familiar and knew exactly how to dispel it and even use it against him. Until obviously no Moss, which was probably a big part of it for Duran too. Is like, well, when I do get in close, I'm not even winning those exchanges. So man, fuck it. But I heard a theory that he had diarrhea. How great would that be? I mean, really shitty for him, no pun intended. But like, everyone thinks he's a coward. Everyone's calling him a pansy. He's disgraced until he makes that triumphant comeback and proves everyone wrong. But what if the guy just had a really upset stomach, and rather than say that, for years he's just been having people believe that he quit, when really it was like an emergency. I heard. Well, let me think. No, I didn't hear that about Duran. That was what someone said about Rigondeaux quitting. Like, what if he just had... Like, could you imagine millions and millions of people watching and you're afraid you're gonna shart yourself on live television? Yeah, that's like... It's my hand, man. Yeah, it's my hand. And then just take the gloves off, and then I need to get out of here as quickly as humanly possible, if you don't mind. I can't think of a worse situation than that. But getting back to Leonard and Mayweather, I think first of all Leonard was faster, much faster, and I'm not just talking hand speed. Obviously, I'm talking reflexes. As far as power, probably pretty equal on power. If you're looking at Mayweather's early fights before he hurt his hand, but I still give Leonard the edge. And a lot more aggressive, knocking guys out a lot more consistently. So I give Leonard the edge there too. Where it gets into footwork, give it to Leonard. Defense, that's an interesting one. I'd have to give that to Floyd. Insofar as evading punches, but Leonard defense absolutely incredible. Not just hand and foot speed, but also reflexes, also head movement, guard manipulation, all that kind of stuff. I'd say Mayweather is much better at defensive guard manipulation and much better at a defensive style altogether. But I think what would happen is that Leonard would get Mayweather. Mayweather liked to retreat to the corner a lot of the times, by the way. And if you're an MMA fan just listening into this, you should listen to this about because it regards Woodley's style too. So Mayweather would retreat back to the corner because it took away his opponent's options and it took away their movement, the same way Woodley does. It takes away your ability to change angles. It takes away your ability to miss and then exit out the corner. And it eliminates variables. You can either keep sideways, in which case there's room to slip past you while you're pressuring the person against the cage or the octagon. You could keep sideways in like a bladed stance, in which case a person could go past you and they have all those options you don't, to change angles and come at you sideways and retreat out of an exit. Or you plant yourself and you square up. But in that case, you're leaving yourself wide open. If the person stays more sideways in the corner, then you're wide open. You have a wide open chin. Your body's wide open. Everything. And Woodley and Mayweather use that incredibly well, which is probably why you hear the same exact criticisms of Woodley that you do of Mayweather too. But I think that Leonard, in that regard, I think Leonard would just pick him apart. This is where it gets interesting, is fight IQ, I think, because Floyd likes to make people miss by going in a little, making them think he's closer than he is and then retreating and the guy overshoots. I don't think Leonard would ever overshoot. I think if Mayweather tried that technique of seeming closer than he was and then backing up, I think Leonard would just use his lead foot movement, his in and out lead foot movement to so that Mayweather never had any kind of idea when he was coming in or when he wasn't coming in. It'd just be him constantly retreating, not really sure when Leonard was going to foot feint, hand feint, high-low, circle, cross step, lateral movement. It'd just be too much to not for barely any other boxer, but it'd be too much in regards for Mayweather to figure out Leonard. Too smart, too many tools to time him like he's timed everyone else, to get his distance like he's gotten everyone else's distance. Because Leonard would come in with different distance. Oh, he did 3 steps in instead of 2 this time. He's really close, so he'll hit me with a tight hook. Oh, he just stepped in on 1 this time, and he hit me with a long straight. It's too many variables. He stepped in twice and threw a cross that time. There's no way in hell, every time I adjust and set, he feints and then lateral movement away. Too many variables. And once he got Mayweather to the corner, I think he'd pick him apart. Same thing, in, out. Or he'd get really close to him and he'd flurry. He had those insanely fast Ali-like flurries, just boom, 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 all over the place. And then just as soon as Mayweather's tightening up in his Philly shell, he moves out of range. Just as soon as Mayweather's about to throw a counter, Leonard moves out of range and starts the process all over again. That's what I think would happen. I think it'd probably take several rounds. I think it'd definitely take a lot more rounds if it was before Leonard's fight with second fight with Duran, but I think he'd win. And if you know my channel, you know I'm not a Mayweather hater. I always said he had a much, much better chance than McGregor, as anyone competent would say. I only thought McGregor had a chance because, an MMA fighter could do better against someone who's like a grappling master, guard manipulation master, because they're used to it. And a lot of Floyd's opponents, even at high level, just were not. And the way Floyd pivoted and then rose up and all that kind of stuff, I thought that McGregor had a much longer punch that he could turn on and kind of catch him as he was leaving, unlike a lot of boxers. But then McGregor's like, no, I'm going to try to do like a half boxing punch, and that's going to work really well. I'm just, I'm not going to learn any proper boxing moves, but at the same time, I'm going to kind of abandon the thing that's worked for me forever. I'm like, what are you thinking, man? But yeah, so I'm not a Floyd hater. I love watching Floyd Mayweather fights. I absolutely do, but only after they've happened, because I like to slow them down and really appreciate, as a martial artist, just all the incredible nuances and techniques. While he's fighting, it's like, oh my God, will you just fight? This is boring, for a lot of them. Not as much as people say. It's like Pacquiao, yeah, of course, but a lot of them were still exciting fights. You're just mad that Mayweather lost, or won. I mean, you're just mad that Mayweather won. But they can get kind of snooze fest every once in a while, obviously. So I like to slow him down, and you see a bunch of stuff. It's like you think that the other guy, he's just making the other guy look bad. If you've never seen the other guy fight before, it'd be like, man, this guy's terrible, but then you slow it down, and you're like, no, he's not terrible. If you have any prior knowledge of the fighter, you knew that anyways. He's not terrible. Mayweather's just a genius. It's one of those things where you like slow it down, and then it's like, oh, okay, he did this, this, and this. He's hitting the guy like 50 times. You never notice. He's making these adjustments. He's freaking like knitting somehow with boxing gloves. It's like, I never would have noticed that he was knitting a sweater while he was beating Canelo up. That's a really nice sweater. That's good needlework. And even though that's an exaggeration, Floyd has literally talked to the commentators. Like, I guess the commentators were getting bored or something, and they started talking about who do you think's gonna win in baseball or something like that. Mayweather mid-fight just turned to them, said who he thought would win, and then kept outboxing the guy. That's humiliating. That's really humiliating. If the guy's like giving an interview the same time he's boxing you, that's something else entirely, man. So yeah, that's the podcast for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoy the fights tomorrow. Real quick, I'm 90% sure I'm going to write a book on footwork because you guys seem to really like the idea. The Power book is selling well and is like staying in the top 50 on Amazon. So I'm really happy about that. I think I'm going to do it all through Amazon because, as much as I get more profit with a direct download, Kindle doesn't take anything from me or whatever. It's too much. It's too hard making the adjustable font and everything, and it's too much effort for you guys to directly to like manually place the Mobi or Mobi, whatever it's called, file into your Kindle from your computer. So I'm just gonna do it all there, and I'm gonna pre-sell it for probably like some money off or whatever the heck. And I'll let you know when that guy's out. And also, if you're still paying attention, if you're still tuning in, I wanted to ask your guys' opinion on kind of the direction of the channel. I really like fight breakdowns because it gives me the chance to not only break down individual techniques, but it gives me the chance to kind of show how two fighters will kind of go against each other. But at the same time, it kind of attracts the wrong kind of person. And, you know, the just bleed kind of guys. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to see a fight and getting excited and seeing someone getting knocked down and being like, oh my god, that looked epic. I do that too, obviously. But I feel like people are just kind of using my video to send to their friends and be like, see, this guy who has a lot of views thinks that this person has a chance at that. And they're, you know, that's fine to do that, but that shouldn't be the only reason people are watching the video. I want to I want to have two people in the comment sections. I want to have martial artists and people who are training, and I want to have intelligent fans who really appreciate all the aspects of the sport and find martial arts, you know, find the art in martial arts and want to talk about that in the comments, you know. It's just been way too many like racist comments and then little nitpicky comments and just all this kind of stuff, and it's getting hard to police it. I feel like that doesn't happen as much with the technique breakdowns. I feel that people, before that fighter has a fight, they'll still check it out, you know, but I feel like it fosters more intelligent conversations, and I really want the comment sections of my post to look like a Reddit post in MMA or boxing, to where there's some dumbasses here and there, but it's mainly just like, oh, I think this fighter will do this because of this and this reason, and the other person being like, I think this technique will backfire against them, you know, that kind of thing. And that's the kind of people, that's the kind of subscribers I want, that's the kind of people I want viewing the videos. I don't want it to turn into like I'm happy to get people excited and hyped up about the fight, as they should be, about all these fights, you know, for the most part, but I don't want it to turn into a hype channel. And I don't want people using it as just like, oh, this guy has a lot of views, so his word is gospel, and I'm sending it to, you know, my friend in your face kind of a thing, and turn that to that kind of thing. Because a lot of views don't really mean anything, you know, a lot of the time. Which is why I like to do, one of the reasons I like to do demo videos every once in a while, so you guys could see that I'm not just some weirdo, like, you know, 300 pounds eating with like Cheeto dust in my man boobs, and just going like, who's never had a fight in my life, just going like, I think this guy will win because of this. You know, and honestly, even that guy, if he used to be into it, could probably do a good job. But you get my fucking point. You know, you can watch. I make sure to always include like 3 to 5 examples over several different fights, and you know, if you'll be able to see the guy do it a lot, the techniques I break down. Even if you don't see the guy do it a lot, then you'll see them do it just before an important part of the fight. You know, so you could look back and see that I know what I'm saying for the most part, and I make mistakes. I'm human. You know, but then you got guys who are like, I don't want to mention any names or call out any channels or whatever the heck. I remember when I was first starting, I was doing like a video a month. There was this guy, he had a video that was just him talking in front of a camera, and he's like, Conor McGregor throws his cross exactly like Bruce Lee because he speeds up at the end of his punch. And the view had like the same views as my video, and I was like, okay, there are so many things. I love both those fighters, you know. I love Bruce Lee. I love Conor McGregor. Both get a lot of hate, you know, in some ways rightly so, in some ways not. You know, they're humans. You know, they're human beings. They both had good parts and bad parts to them. But they were both highly talented, or both are. One is highly talented martial artists in their own regards, in their own respect. But this guy saying that they punch like each other was the stupidest thing I'd ever seen. Like, if you know the techniques, like I'd studied when I was younger, I studied with Bruce Lee's top student's nephew, And so I know how Bruce Lee liked to punch off film, you know. And he was sparring with like champions. I don't, you know, there are varying accounts of how well he did, but they all say he did good and he held his own, even though he was a much smaller guy. Like what they mostly say is he got hit. You know, it hurt him bad because we're bigger guys, but he'd hit us a lot, and was very good defensively, pretty much with the top guys at that time, which nowhere near as good as they are nowadays. But for what they had back then, Bruce Lee could hang with those guys, and that's super fucking impressive. But he fought, but you know, way different, way different than McGregor. They could not have different punches. It's like, yeah, you speed up the strike at the end of your strike, which is literally the first thing that any martial artist of any style will ever tell you, no matter what boxing gym, no matter what MMA gym, no matter what kickboxing gym, no matter if it's taekwondo, no matter if it's kempo, no matter if it's any striking style on the planet, they will tell you to speed up your punch at the end of the punch. It's the most basic, elemental, common thing. And besides that one thing that, yeah, everyone does, which is basically like saying don't hit with your smallest pinky knuckle. You know, it's like that level of basic. Not even your pinky knuckle. Don't hit with your pinky, because some people still do that. But don't hit with your pinky finger when you punch. Don't stick out your pinky finger when you punch. It's like that level of basicness. And besides that, they could not have had two different punches. Bruce Lee punched straight, McGregor, and in a, you know, I'm not even going to go into it. I'm going to get too pissed off. And let me know kind of the direction you think that the channel should be going, as far as, you know, do you want more breakdowns of the individual techniques? You know, do you want more individualized technique breakdowns that are far more like will help you progress as a martial artist or educate you more as a fan? Or do you want more like broad overview things? Because I feel like it's the hype thing's getting a little out of control, and I'd kind of like to go back to my roots with the whole thing. But if you think I've been doing a good balance with it, then let me know. If you think the balance is off, you used to enjoy the channel more, or if you think I should keep going in that direction and do more broad overviews, just kind of let me know your opinions in the comments. So that's it, and you guys are awesome and amazing, and I hope you enjoy the fight, and happy holidays, and I will see you next time.